William Henry Gates III, commonly known as Bill, was born on October 28th in 1955 in Seattle, Washington. Gates grew up in an upper-class middle home. He had two sisters, Christy Ann, who was older, and Libby, who was younger. His father, William Henry Gates II, was a lawyer and was married to Gates' mother, Mary. The Gates family was very close. William and Mary taught all of their children to be competitive and to do their best. As a child, Bill began to read anything he could get his hands on. Bill has always enjoyed learning, and to this day will grab a couple of books and go learn about a certain subject. Bill says, "I really had a lot of dreams when I was a kid, and I think a great deal of it grew out of the fact that I had a chance to read a lot." Bill was not raised in a religious home. In fact, once he stated, just in terms of allocation of time resources, religion is not very efficient. There's a lot more I could be doing on a Sunday morning. Gates was enrolled in Lakeside School when he was 13. This is where Gates met Paul Allen, co-founder of Microsoft, and his enthusiasm with computers started. The Lakeside Mothers Club purchased a computer for the school, and Gates began to learn BASIC, a computer software code on the machine. The first program he made was tic-tac-toe. In their late teens, Allen and Gates made Trafodata, a small program that records traffic music. They earned about $20 from this endeavor, but more importantly, they received some business experience. After high school, Allen went on to Washington State University, but Gates went to Harvard. During the summer of 1974, Allen showed Gates an advertisement for a computer kit, Altair 8800, made by MITS. Without having done anything beforehand, they called MITS and said that they had developed some software from the computer just to gauge their interest. MITS was very interested, so Gates and Allen worked nonstop to create the software for Altair, even though they had no Altair to test it on. The first time they were able to test the software was when they were showing it to MITS, and it went off without a hitch. Allen was hired at MITS, and soon after, Gates left Harvard and joined them. Gates says, "It concerns me to hear people say that they don't want to go to college because I didn't graduate. For one thing, I got a pretty good education, even though I didn't stay long enough to get my degree. For another, the world is getting more competitive, specialized, and complex each year. Making a college education is as critical today as a high school education was at one time." He also said, "We realized things were starting to happen, and just because he had a vision for a long time of where this chip could go and what it meant, didn't mean the industry was going to wait for him while he stayed and finished his degree at Harvard." Gates and Allen formed a partnership called Microsoft, Microprocessor Software. Microsoft earned revenue off the fees and royalties of their first program for the Altair, but Gates saw that people were reproducing his software and giving it away for free. Gates wrote an open letter to the computer hobbyists saying that software should not be pirated, as it would keep good software from being produced. If the software engineer could not make any money off of his software due to people stealing it, he would not put time, money, or effort into his software. In 1977, the president of MITS sold the company, and Gates and Allen had to sue the new owner to retain the rights to their software. Microsoft spent the next 3 years making small programs for various companies, and in 1978, they grossed $2.5 million. In late 1980s, IBM approached Microsoft looking for a software for the new personal computer. Gates convinced IBM that Microsoft could give them what they needed, even though he didn't have an operating system for their computer. Microsoft went to Seattle Computers and purchased their operating system for about $50,000. Later, Seattle Computers sued Microsoft for hiding the information that they were in a business deal with IBM, and so they were able to buy Seattle Computers software for very cheap prices. Microsoft settled out of court for an undisclosed amount. After Gates and Allen tweaked the program and then renamed it MS-DOS, they licensed it to IBM for $50,000, exactly what they had purchased it for. But with the clause that IBM had to use only MS-DOS, but Microsoft could sell MS-DOS to other computer companies. Gates then told software designers that they could create programs for software without needing permission, and he licensed it to many other computer makers. His idea was to put a Microsoft computer in every house and business, and each consumer have programs that were needed and only available on a Microsoft computer. Jonathan Gatlin states in his biography, Bill Gates, by Gates' own testimony, it is there not so much to remind him of Ford's famous goal of seeing it to every American family-owned car, a goal that Gates and others have proclaimed for the personal computer, but to remind him of the fact that Ford's stubbornness and lack of vision on several fronts eventually allowed many competitors to steal and march on them. In 1984, a company called VisaCorp developed a mouse-driven graphical user interface, also known as GUI software. Gates saw potential in this software and announced that Microsoft was developing a GUI software called Windows. The announcement was a bluff. Microsoft had not been working on a GUI software. He was trying and succeeded to keep his customers from buying software other than his. The customers would rather wait instead of buying new software because they already used Microsoft-compatible programs. In 1985, Windows was released. Bill made the company public with a starting price of shares at $21 and retaining 45% of the company, quickly became a millionaire. A year later, the stock had risen to $90, making Gates a billionaire. Even as a billionaire, Gates did not feel completely secure. He says, "Size works against excellence. Even if we're a big company, we cannot think like a big company, or we are dead." After his success with Windows, Gates soon turned his focus to the internet. When Gates first heard about the internet, he sent out an email saying that Microsoft's main goal would furthermore be the internet. He created Internet Explorer and used his monopoly on the software market to get Internet Explorer established. He would tell the computer manufacturers that if they wanted to continue to use the software, they would have to include Internet Explorer with the computer. The U.S. government sued Gates for using his monopoly unfairly in a predatory manner and to crush opposition. The government won, but some critics claim that the penalty was nothing more than a slap on the wrist. Gates still maintains that he was unfairly sued. He stated to CNET on January 27th, what you have here is basically the U.S. government saying our products are too capable. He told another publication in July of 1994, the hardcore truth is we've done nothing wrong. In his keynote speech at San Jose State in 1998, he stated, "There's no doubt that we wouldn't have a Department of Justice dispute here, even if some of our competitors hadn't decided that battling out in the marketplace was that their product wasn't going to do well enough on its own, that they were going to try to use the government to cripple us." And I use that word very carefully, because the idea of trying to tell us to ship products with features deleted, those are crippled products. In January of 1998, Bill told ZDNet how the lawsuit actually affected him. He said that when your own government sues you, it's not a pleasant experience. I wasn't sitting there going, "Haha, I'll do what I want." I was thinking this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. Amid all these speeches, in 1997, Apple, a competing computer company, was crashing. In order to save the company, Microsoft invested $150 million to help raise its plummeting stocks. Apple negotiated their continuing partnership with Microsoft in the terms of a bundled Internet Explorer with its systems. By 2000, Bill Gates' net worth was over $100 billion. Bill Gates retired from his position as president at Microsoft. He and his wife, Melinda, formed the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. They began giving away money for education, health, and poverty. In fact, Gates has publicly stated his intention to give away almost all of his wealth within his lifetime. We first see signs of philanthropy in 1995 when he said, I am offered countless opportunities to invest or to make charitable contributions, gifts, or loans. Some people want a few $100s, some a few $100 million. Spending money intelligently is as difficult as earning it. Giving away money in meaningful ways will be a main preoccupation later in my life, assuming I still have a lot to give away. Some of their pet causes include global health with an emphasis on HIV, malaria, and neglected infectious diseases. Global development with an emphasis on agricultural development, nutrition, family planning, water sanitation, and hygiene. Their USA projects are focused more on college board education and post-secondary success. Gates has said in context of the education reform, we have two big theories about how we might change things. One is to help improve the quality of teaching, which means really studying why some teachers are so much better than others. There is some magic stuff being done by the best teachers, and yet there is not really an effort to transfer those skills to other teachers. One of the ways to change that is through feedback. You get peers to come in and see what you're doing. If there's a digital camera in the classroom, you can even review yourself. Bill Gates said on poverty, the great advances in the world have been aggravated. have often aggravated the inequities in the world. The least needy see the most improvement, and the most needy see the least, in particular the billion people who live on less than $1 a day. He also stated during the interview, he said, "We do family planning, we fund research on crops. Some people think that you shouldn't take science to help the poor people. This whole thing about which operating system somebody uses is pretty silly versus issues involving starvation or death." Bill Gates took risks, played the corporate game to a fault, amassed billions in wealth, and then showed us another side of himself, becoming a paradox of sorts. In fact, he started with making money and giving it away at the same time, forcing himself to retire from Microsoft. Bill Gates has become a role model for other millionaires or billionaires in philanthropy, affecting others such as Warren Buffett. Bill once spoke of his friend saying, "Warren Buffett and I share certain values. We both feel lucky that we were born into an era in which our skills have turned out to be so remunerative. Had we been born in a different time, our skills might not have much value. Since we don't plan on spending much of what we have accumulated, we can make sure our wealth benefits society. In a sense, we are both working for a charity. In any case, our heirs will get only a small portion of what we accumulate because we both believe that passing on a huge wealth to children isn't in their or society's interest." Warren likes to say that he wants to give his children enough money for them to do anything, but not enough for them to do nothing. I thought about this before I met Warren, and hearing him articulate it crystallized my feelings. In conclusion, Bill Gates has influenced many different aspects of the world. He has changed our day-to-day lives with Microsoft software and the Internet Explorer, and he has changed the lives of the less fortunate with his charity, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Gates is a very motivated man and has a creative genius unparalleled. Gates continues today to help the less fortunate, and we can expect he will do this either until he ends hunger and disease or till his death.